Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 14. We will be discussing the mediant chord and also a new thing known as the back-relating dominant. We'll get to that at the end of the chapter. Laitz says, in our study of Western classical tonal harmony, we have dealt so far with all of the diatonic triads except for the mediant, the 3 chord. Now while the minor 3 is a relative rarity in the major mode because it's a minor chord, if we're in the minor mode, the capital 3, the major 3 chord, occurs very frequently. Now let's think about why is that. In C minor, for example, the 3 chord is E flat major. What is the relationship between C minor and E flat major, between the minor 1 and the major 3 chord? Think about that for a moment. What is the relationship? If you said they are relative keys, then you were correct. And that is why the capital 3 chord, major triad, occurs very frequently in a minor mode. See how easy that is to go from 1 to 3? So with this in mind, we're going to investigate the mediant's most common context in each mode, both major and minor modes. Also, we're going to be attending to a special function of the dominant chord, one in which it does not relate forward to the dominant, but backwards to the tonic that is already sounded. That is what a back-relating dominant is all about. We'll talk about that later. For now, let's go to the bottom of the page where it says, how does the mediant triad, the minor 3, behave in the major mode? 1 chord, minor 3 chord. Let's go to the next page and see the examples that he lists in 14.1. Let's look at letter A. This is an unadorned simple progression of 1, going to plagal motion to 4, and back to 1. Now letter B is going to arpeggiate the bass, 1 to 1, 6, to 4, to 1. That's an embellished bass progression. It's a chordal leap in level 2A. C is now going to change things up a little bit and just throw a passing tone in the upper voice. We're still leaping from 1 to 4. Now what if we combine the principles of letter B where we did the bass arpeggiation and letter C where we did the passing tone in the upper voice? If you do both of those things, then you get letter D. Technically speaking, when you do both of these things with the melodic motion in the top and the chordal leap in the bottom, the 3 chord now appears on beat 2. But does it really? Laitz is making the argument that even though it turns into a 3 because of that upper voice passing tone, it's really functioning as a chordal leap in level 2A, as if it were still the 1 chord. It's only the melodic voice motion that turns it temporarily into a 3, but it's not functioning as a 3 there. That is his argument. Let's go ahead and play A, B, C, and D all the way through without stopping. Sing the part you want, either the bass line or the top line. Ready? Sing. Unadorned progression. Letter B, embellished bass. Letter C with the upper voice passing tone. Letter D with all of these things. Now if we look down at example 14.2, we're going to see this same phenomenon occurring in measure 2. When the G sharp passing tone in the melodic realm hits the C sharp on the bottom, it technically turns it into a 3 chord, but it's really more like a 1/6 in its function. Let's go ahead and hear a performance of this piece, then we'll come back and talk about it. All right, let's go back and talk about it. So it starts off with A3. we have 1 to 5 to 1. That's just an embellishing chord, the 5. It's all like tonic expansion. Another embellishing chord. Predominant. That one chord in there is also an embellishing chord, and here's the real dominant, 6/4 to 5/3. Now Laitz says all of this in level 2B is tonic expansion. Here's 1/6, flips to the predominant right there. The 1 is an embellishing chord, and the dominant 6/4 to 5/3 is the dominant. Now I have an alternate interpretation. I hear this differently. I don't hear the predominant as being structural. I just think it sounds like tonic going to dominant. So with that in mind, I would play it like this. I would just keep going all the way till here. I believe that alternate interpretation is as valid as the one that Laitz has. You could choose between those two to see which one fits you the best. Laitz is talking about the melodic 8, 7, 6, 5 motion. It's buried in the alto part. He has circled it for you in that alto part. 8, 7, 6, 5. It says while the leading tone 7 usually wants to go up when it's harmonized by a dominant, it loses that upward tendency when it's harmonized by the 3 chord. And yes, it does lose that. Thus, the mediant triad is perfectly suited to the 8 and then descending into 7 rather than 7 ascending into scale degree 8. Now let's look below at example 14.3. We have letter A and letter B. Now both of these pieces do the same descending melodic motion of 8 to 7 to 6 to 5, but in very different aural contexts. Here's Puff the Magic Dragon. There's your 8, 7, 6 to 5. You hear it? 7, 6, 5. Okay, I know you want to sing it, so let's all do it together. Ready? Go. Now we used the Mahler piece in last week's discussion from Cannabis Wunderhorn, the same passage here. Last week we talked about how in the opening 6th chord, because it directly precedes the dominant, that 6th chord is functioning as a predominant there. Now let's continue for a minute. We're going to be looking in the melodic realm here. Here comes scale degree 8, 7, 6, 5 on the top. There you have your 8, 7, 6 to 5. I've got it circled there for you. On to the next page. How do 6 and 3 interact? So keeping in mind that descending 8, 7, 6, 5 paradigm that we just did on the last page, if you look at example 14.4, letter A, this time we're in the key of E major. Look at the soprano part. 8, 8, 7, 6, 5. A new chord has been inserted in there. The 6th chord that's going to precede the minor 3 chord there. So we've got 8. Now with minor 6, we still leave scale degree 8 on the top. 7, 6 to 5. That is a way you can vary the 8, 7, 6, 5 patterning by inserting a 6th chord between the 1 and the 3 chord. Now let's look down at example 14.4b. This is from a composer named Jose Andre, written in the early parts of the 20th century, Sonatina for piano. I will attempt to play this thing. I was unable to find a recording of it on YouTube, although you can go to the Laitz site and download all of the listening examples for yourself or listen to them from there. It goes something like this. It's quite lovely. So the part we want to look at is the melodic motion. It's coming up. 6, 5, 4, 3. It went all the way down, even further than the last one did. So we've just talked about how the minor 6 chord can precede the minor 3 chord, but it can also follow the minor 3 chord. In this way, it extends the descending fifths motion that we studied in chapter 13. Let's see how this works. Go to the bottom of this page, 14.5. This is the progression of descending fifths. We're starting in C major, going to E major, that's the 3 chord. Here's the 6 chord, the 2, and then at 5, 6, 4, we're going to 5, 3, and to 1. I want you to notice the bass line. It's doing a zigzag pattern. C up to E, down to A, up to D, down to G, up to C. Now he's talking about descending fifths motion, which you don't really see with the black notes, but I've written some purple notes in there. Now watch this. We're just going to take it all one direction. E for the 3, down a fifth to the 6 chord, down a fifth to the 2 chord, down a fifth to the 5 chord, and then down a fifth to home bass, the 1 chord. That would be a straight line version, but that would be really hard. It'd be impossible to sing, and it doesn't sound that great. It sounds better if you just kind of zigzag and change the octave displacement, okay? So the zigzag motion keeps the bass line on the staff in a more playable, singable range. That is why it has that up and down motion like that. But I wanted you to see what he's talking about when he says descending fifths. E down a fifth, A down a fifth, D down a fifth, G down a fifth, C down a fifth. Now here it is in context of a very popular artist, Stevie Wonder from the 70s. Well, he started actually in the late 60s and continued all the way through the 70s into the 80s. He's still alive, actually. This is the great and wonderful Mr. Stevie Wonder. And this is one of his most famous songs, You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Now I'm just going to play the chord symbols in the configuration that we see it. C chord, a G chord in 5-4-2 inversion because they want F on the bottom. Now an E7, and an A7, a D7, and a G7, and a C. So the note I'm going to play on the bottom is the bottom note of the chord progression that you see. So C, the next one is a G chord, but I'm going to play F on the bottom, and then E. Now this is where it goes down a fifth, down a fifth, down a fifth, down a fifth, but we're going to zigzag it on the staff so it doesn't fall off at the bottom of the piano, okay? I'm betting a lot of you have probably heard that song. I'm sure your parents and grandparents really remember it quite well.
Feel like